Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes,
I
has
think we can
everyone
start
joined?
with the session. Most of them have
Yes,
joined.
ma'am. Most of them have joined.
Okay. Okay, let's start with yesterday's session. Has
Yes, ma'am,
anyone had?
before you start, I would just request all of you if you all can just turn on your cameras. Yes, ma'am.
Uh, okay. Before we start with today's session, anyone wants to discuss something about the previous last session that we had yesterday? You're welcome to for that.
Ma'am, I think Varsha had a query in the last session. Varsha, would you like to ask?
Okay. See, if you want to talk, just one thing, if you want to talk about the research, your research topic or something, we can do it. We'll do it after the session, after today's session will end. Then we'll start with that. Uh,
Okay, ma'am.
if you have any query regarding the content that we discussed yesterday, you can ask me about it. Okay, so I'll quickly start with today's session. Yeah, so I'm just sharing the presentation for today's. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, great. So yesterday we talked about how you can identify the research problem, right? So I gave you so many examples of the static sources, dynamic sources of where you can get your research question from, where you can get an idea from, and then how to filter out your idea and form a particular research topic, form a particular research question. Now, once you have done with it, now you're supposedly so Pranav was telling me that you have already finalized your research topics. So supposedly you're done with that. Now, how to proceed forward? You cannot just start away. You cannot just start writing the paper. Once you have decided a topic. So there are many steps that you have to follow. One of the very crucial and important step is literature review, and I think the whole research lies on the literature review. So we'll be talking about literature review today in much more details. So what exactly is a literature review? I mean, so once you have finalized the topic, yesterday also we discussed of how you can identify whether the research topic that you want to work on is correct, is worth working on, is it a good research question or not. That only a literature review can tell you, right? So literature review is nothing, it is just comprehensive examination of extensive research on a particular topic. That means you're reading a lot about your topic. I remember yesterday somebody was telling me that their research topic is what was that, gene editing, right? So if you're reading about gene editing, it's human rights, how exactly it can affect human rights, how it is a human rights violation. So that becomes a part of your literature review. So basically literature review is something when you are reading the already published articles, papers already which is already available. So you are reading something on which the research has already been taken place, right? And which is very important, because then only you'll be able to understand of what exactly needs to be known into that field, right? So it is of two types. One that contextualizes a research study, and two which summarizes the current literature on a particular topic. Now, can anyone tell me what is the difference between these two? Like, just try, and if I'll explain otherwise. Anyone? You can just try. I mean, I know it's not. Yes? I mean, whatever you think, you can just speak. What do you think
Ma'am,
of
can
the
you
word?
please repeat the question once again, please?
I'm just asking you, what exactly do you understand by these two types, contextualization and summarization?
Sorry, ma'am, I have no idea.
Hello.
When I did my dissertation, I never came across these words, or when our teacher was teaching the subject legal research, she never taught about these two terms. So
See,
it
it
is
is not
totally
see,
unknown to
it
me.
is not just for legal research. What I am explaining it to you right now is applicable for all the type of research that you do. It is not just for legal researchers, it is for everyone, even when you're working in a different field.
Ma'am, I guess summarizing means whatever lengthy, if something lengthy is written, to make it a short and sweet form of it, and that is basically called summarization. And conceptualization basically means you have a particular concept. For example, you give some concept. Like what is defamation? So defamation is a concept. So about that concept, you means give the whole of discuss the whole of the topic, whole of the concept.
Yes, somewhere you're correct, like you're very close. I'll just explain it to you. So, contextualization means when you are inspecting, when you are, scrutinizing something, right? You're trying to investigate, you're trying to inspect something. So, it is something new, right? So, see, there can be two, sorry. Oh, yeah. There can be two ways in which you can do the literature review. One is when you are trying to investigate something, right? So when first of all, when you start literature review, what you start with, you are trying to know new things, that you don't know. Like, see, if you haven't read something before, how would you know about something, right? You have to read something to know about it. Am I right?
Yeah,
For
ma'am.
example, you're all legal scholars, so abhi fundamental rights you are reading, then only you know what are fundamental rights, what are their limitations. Otherwise, if you haven't read it, how would you know what exactly are fundamental rights, why are they so important? So so first time when you're reading something, you're investigating, you are trying to know new things, right? So one is the literature review when you're trying to investigate something, and second is when you're trying to summarize things. For example, you already know what is being done, you already know what are fundamental rights, but now fundamental right is a research topic. For example, even I gave this use this example yesterday. There's one colleague of mine who is working on the evaluation of Article 14 since independence, right? So his research topic is this. So basically what he's trying to do is he's trying to summarize it, how exactly, what were the judgments, and so are you able to understand the difference between the two? Contextualizing means when you're trying to investigate something new, and summarizing means you're trying to short it down in a readable manner and all that. Yes, like making notes. Is it clear or not? Should I repeat it?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Clear to everyone? Okay, it's not very difficult. It means, so contextualizing is the first stage when you start reading the literature, and summarization is the comes at a later stage when you already have an idea of what you are reading, right? So why do we undertake a literature review? What is the purpose? So first is the critical evaluation of the literature review. So if what you read, you evaluate it. See, basically, we all read novels also. We all read, a lot of things, but we are not critically evaluating of whatever we read every day. So purpose of literature is review is whenever you read something, you have to evaluate it critically. I mean, why is it like that, how it is done. So these are all the critical evaluation. What are the drawbacks, right? That means critical evaluation. Second is when you're trying to establish the significance of your research. So for example, you find something very interesting, right? Now you have to justify your research also, na? I mean, you have to. So if someone asks, so what is the first question when you are asked, what are you doing? Why you want to do this research? Right? Everybody asks you this question, and you have to justify why you want to work on this particular topic only. Right? So if you want to signify, if you want to establish the significance of why you want to conduct this research, you have to do the literature review, right? You have to tell people, you have to tell the readers that this is the reason why I want to undertake this study, because maybe you'll find something that this is very important, this hasn't been worked upon yet. So that is why, to establish the significance, it is very important that you read whatever has been done. I hope I'm making some sense.
Yes, ma'am.
So, ma'am, literature review basically means reading about the topic which we have taken.
Yes, it's
Is
not
it
just
correct?
reading. Yes, but it's not just reading, right? I just explained you the difference between reading and the literature review.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, you read a lot of things, but literature review is different from just reading.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you're reading for the literature, you're basically, when you're reading for, fun purposes, or you're just reading to pass the exam, it is very different. But literature review is different, because then you're reviewing the literature. I mean, you are reviewing of what people before you have done in that particular field. Yes, basically, if you see, this is what it means.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, so that is when, if you will not review what people have done before you in a particular field, how would you know what needs to be done more into that field, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, that is why
So,
literature.
ma'am, if someone
Yes.
asks us what is literature itself, then what? How do we define literature?
So literature is something. So see, literature is something which is already recorded as a literature. For example, papers which are published in a journal, articles, scholarly debates, they are all a part of literature because they are already
Okay.
recorded. Right? So you have to be very selective of what you are reading. You cannot just read anything which is there on that topic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Fourth point is to find gaps in the field and to create a research space. So you have to find out the gaps. So uh, when you are reviewing the literature, when you will be reading of what researchers before you have already written, have already done in that particular field, probably you'll come across that, okay, this was something that needs to be worked upon, but इस पे तो काम हुआ ही नहीं है. But nobody has worked on this topic. So that is what we call a gap. Yes, are you able to understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
It is very important to identify gap while you're, you know, uh, doing literature review, because then only your research would be adding something new to the already existing knowledge base. Otherwise, you'll be just
Yeah.
rewriting stuff.
Ma'am, can I ask you something?
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, ma'am. So I have taken a topic for as a foreign direct investment. When doing literature review, I have to means only look of the legal part of that.
Okay.
So you mean by that being selective means being looking after only after the legal part of FDI.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to look into the, of how, whether FDI is creating jobs or not, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That would not, that would
Be
not be
my
relevant for your research, right?
yeah. But I can define what is FDI and what is creating jobs. I missed
Yeah.
yesterday's session, so I was a bit.
No, you have to do it. So basically, selective means reading which is relevant to your topic. Obviously, FDI is your topic, so you have to explain what is FDI.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Already written. I hope you understand the point. It is very important. Yes.
Yeah, ma'am.
The last point is devoid of new contributors in the literature. So you think, for example, you're reading something and you see that after 2010 or maybe 2015, nobody has worked on it, right? So that is, you mean that, okay, why nobody's working on this? So that means devoid of new contributors. There is no new contribution. There is only older literature which is present in a particular topic. Does that make sense? What is the purpose of a literature review?
Yeah, yeah, ma'am.
So when next time you're reading something about your, a topic, try to have these things in your head, in the background of your head, and it would be a changed, so, you will be finding out answers of a lot of questions, right? Just have these things in the back of your mind, and trust me, you'll find gaps also, and it would be helping you a lot. Next is, so these are the questions that would probably come in your head while you'll be reading or you'll be reviewing the literature. So first is, how much literature do I need to look at? I think somebody has a question. I have shifted to the next slide. Can't you see the slide? Next slide.
Now it's visible, ma'am.
Oh, you guys were stuck at the similar slide. I'm so sorry. I'll share the screen again. Wait. Um, is it visible now?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. This was the last slide if you want to read once. You can just have a look at it and then we'll move to the next. Um, is it fine now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what are the questions that you should ask yourself? First is, how much literature do I need to look at? So, yes, or do you think that there is even an answer for this?
Ma'am, I guess as much it is required for my topic to be covered.
Exactly. See, only you can know how much you can, read about something. Okay, how much you need to read about something, how much literature you should read. Only you can answer that particular question. Yes, because that is very much dependent on what topic you are working on. How much, so it is very much topic specific, right? But you need to uh, at least review that much literature on which you can actually find out a gap, and you're able to fill in that gap with with your research. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. How far do I need to go in research? If someone is working on fundamental rights in India, let's take this example. So, can anyone tell me, when did fundamental rights came into existence?
In 1215 Magna Carta.
Exactly. So maybe you can take into account that time period. You can so also what you can do is, so you will be having very less literature from probably 1200, from whatever timeline. What did you mention?
1215.
1215, right? So in India also they came at that point only.
No,
No,
ma'am.
but you said that if you're gonna go behind fundamental rights evolution, so we trace back the origin to Magna Carta, then Bill of Rights, then we go on from there.
Exactly. So see, if you're working on the evolution of this fundamental rights, so what you have to do is you have to divide your timeline, right? You have to undertake first of all the evolution of how fundamental rights came into existence, why they were required, and then what you can do is you have to take into account all the literature that has yet been written on this. So would you be able to read all the literature that is there? You'll be reading literature only, you won't be able to write a paper then. So what you can do is you can select some particular papers of some timeline. For example, you will be having a lot of papers from 20th century and 21st century, right? Because now you have internet, we can publish easily now, so we don't even need, to have a hard copy of anything, we can just read something online. So you will be having a lot of literature from 20th and 21st century, right? But what about the literature that was earlier there? So you can read some historical documents that are there. So how far do you need to look back is how much is required for your topic. For example, if somebody is working on artificial intelligence, it would be very easy for that particular person, because then artificial intelligence is something very new. I hope you are able to understand the difference.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So it just depends on your research on how far do you need to look back. Okay. If somebody is working on coronavirus, right? So coronavirus came in 2019 end, right? So you can just take into account that time period. You cannot go before that. Make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now, what related ideas do I need to explore? Related ideas are when you're working on something, on a topic. So it is not just that topic that you have to, it would be related to some other topics also, some subtopics. For example, somebody just mentioned Magna Carta when it came. So, how exactly fundamental rights were affected when we were colonized? Maybe that is also something that what's your name? Who was talking about who just mentioned about the fundamental rights?
When the Magna Carta was created,
If it's not just fundamental right, it would be obviously a lot of other things. Am I right?
yeah, surely, ma'am. Basically, it's an umbrella when you delve into other fields as well to explore the extent of that particular area.
That are related to your research, right? That is what it talks about. Fourthly, what literature provides a framework for my research. So, what literature you have to, for example, are there any historical documents that are available for your research? And secondly, if somebody is working on Constitution of India, then Constitution, from where Constitution has been taken from where the idea of fundamental rights, the idea of fundamental duties is coming from, that becomes your framework. Does it make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Now, lastly, why use a particular instrument for my experiment or methodology for my study? Okay, just leave this point for now because we'll be talking about research methodology in much more details. There is a whole session for research methodology, right? So don't worry about it. What research methodology you should follow, that would be coming in the subsequent sessions. Obviously, you probably won't be following the experiment part because in social sciences, we generally follow the methodology part. Okay. Now, what exactly you can use for finding the literature? Okay, so these are some tools which are there apart from so obviously I just told you about papers and all, papers, newspapers, official documents, legal books, legal documents. I do not know much about the legal documents because I'm not from the legal background, but these are very good. Some These are some websites where it would be very much helpful for you for finding the literature. First is Google Scholar. It is really good. I mean, I also use this every day for my research. Scopus, it is again a very good directory of all the research journals that are there. And trust me, all the journals are really good. Then online and offline libraries of wherever you are located, your college, your university would be having access to multiple libraries, online and offline both. DOAJ is Directory of Open Access Journals. These all journals are open access. They are available for public. These are all non-paid. There is no paywall. You can access these journals for free. Elsevier is again very good. Science Direct, Web of Science, they are all very good, ways of collecting the literature. So it's nothing here. You can try these. Google Scholar and Scopus libraries, DOAJ would be definitely helpful for you. Obviously, I think but Science Direct can be helpful for people who are just working on, for example, gene editing. They can find out some relevant papers there. Yes, I hope this will help you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You can try them and let me know whether you found these helpful or not. Uh, Putting the literature review, do you want to note them down? Obviously, I'll be sharing the presentation, but if you still want to note them down, you can.
Ma'am, can we take the screenshot?
Yeah, please, please. Yes, totally. Okay, let's take a break. I mean, not a break, but let's go back. Tell me whether you can see the screen or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, let's try Google Scholar. Tell me some keywords. What? Sorry, I couldn't get it. Arbitration of what? Just arbitration. International investment, commercial law, mediation. What exactly? Agreement, law. In what?
International.
Yes. So you have. Can you see there is a whole book on international arbitration law and practice?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a whole book on this which was published in 2014. Also, you know what you can do is you can put in timeline also, from, for example, 2010 to 2023. Search. So it will only show you the books, papers, articles from this particular time period. Yes, there is another book, International Construction Arbitration Law, 2020. So that is how you collect your literature. Also, you can put in more keywords, right? The more keywords you'll put, the more precise answers, the more precise articles, papers, and books you'll get. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, try this, and I think you'll be like shocked to see what all have been done. Okay, let's try something else. Anyone who wants to search something about their topic?
Ma'am, it's
No?
not related to my topic, but can we search on UCC?
Yes. Uniform Civil Code, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, so where? India? Goa? Or where? India.
Ma'am, yeah, yeah.
See, this is how. There is a whole book. Can you see the literature which is already there on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so that is how. So you need to analyze this literature and you have to find out the gaps. And trust me, not everything you have to read whatever comes in here. That we have mentioned how to filter it out, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So try this tool, and this is just one tool. There are others also here, and there would be some legal tools also that you can tell me. I'll also add it in the list. Okay. So try these. Let's move to the next slide. Now, how exactly you can put your literature review together? Trust me, literature review in itself is a very comprehensive process. And putting up the literature review is not just about reading the topic. You need to have a general idea about what exactly your topic is. What exactly their views are, what exactly renowned people think, what are their opinions about your topic, right? What does policymakers think about your topic? Secondly, what are the ongoing debates within your topic? Now, if there is something new, for example, this UCC debate is now new. It was not very much into context, it was not very much debated before last 5 years. It was, people were talking about it, but not as now they're talking about it. So whether there are any ongoing debates, right? Thirdly, what ideas do you agree with? Now, it is very important that whether you agree with something or you do not agree with something, that is totally fine. That is your personal thing. But you should be able to, like we discussed yesterday, you should be able to support it with a fact. Make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
It is very
Yes, ma'am.
important that you're supporting all your arguments by facts, right? And lastly, what hasn't been said about your topic. For example, you think that there is something missing which has not yet been talked about altogether. So that also. So this is how literature review is done. This is the context. This is the whole, process of undertaking the literature review. I hope you are trying to, understand of why we are having one whole session on this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, it is also very important to organize your literature review in a sequential manner. So you can have a sequence. You can divide it into topics. For example, okay, I'll be talking about it methodological and theoretical. Uh, can you like give me 1 minute? I'll share a document with you guys. So how will you remember of what exactly you are reading? Because you will be reading a lot every day on your topic, right? So how can you, would you be possibly, do you think it is actually humanly possible to remember of what exactly you read? There's something. So see, this is the example that you can also see. This is something that I have added, whatever I was reading. So I've also added it into this. I filled the entries. So you can also follow something like this. You can make your own, systematic literature review file. Does it make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
So at the end, it would be very easy for me to So I don't have to read the document again and again, and I can just remember by looking at this what were the important pointers. This is something how you make notes and all, right? So because that is easy for you to. So this is what organizing your literature review is. I hope it is clear, right? Okay. Um, Next is integrating what others says. So integrating what others says, because obviously you are undertaking the literature review. You put in references, so you're already integrating. Reviewing the literature in itself means that you're integrating of what other people are saying, what people before you have said, what researchers before you have done research on. So, what do experts think? What do experts in the field say about your topic? What are the common opinions on your topic? What do others imply or assume about your topic? And both sides' argument, if you are able to put in into your research, it would become unbiased, and it would be very. It is considered as a very good research when you are able to, put in the arguments from both the sides. I hope it is clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the roadmap. Uh, how exactly you can, you know, uh, whenever you are done with the literature review, whenever you are conducting the literature review, how exactly what roadmap you can follow is what are the ongoing debates within the topic, right? Introducing an ongoing debate, summarizing a debate that presents opposing views, placing your research in the debate, where exactly your research comes into that debate. For example, UCC, whether you support UCC, whether you do not support UCC, whether you are just summarizing of what all the ideas have said about it, right? So placing your research in the debate. Also, you have to, it would be very nice if you're also taking into account what for example, you're supporting something, so it is very important that you also take opposing views into account, right? Exposing the inadequacies of the current theory of or the research. For example, if you think that there is a gap in the research, so you expose those in it. So for example, I can give you one example about this. What my research is on energy security of India. So what how I got the idea for working on this, I was reading a document by Ministry of Coal, right? Ministry of Coal says that we want to increase the production of coal by 2035 by this much. We want this much million tons of coal. Our target is to achieve, to mine this much million tons of coal. Now when I was reading the report, one report from Ministry of Renewable and Ministry of Renewable Energy, Ministry of Mines. So what you'll find is they are all working in different directions, right? So what does that mean? There is an inadequacy in the policy of the government, right? So when you even expose the inadequacies of the current theory or the research or a policy, that is also a research. I hope it makes some sense.
Yes, ma'am.
So on one hand, government of India, see, it's all government of India, whether you are Ministry of Mines, whether you are Ministry of coal, whether you are Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, whatever you are technically government of India, right? So if Ministry of Renewable Energy says that we want to cut the production of, uh, you know, this petrol and diesel, petroleum basically by that year, and Ministry of Coal says that we want to increase the production of coal, so they are moving in different directions. That is an inadequacy, right? Next is opening a gap in the research. So this we have discussed a lot of times, exposing gaps in the literature, and now you have to position your own research. What you are adding, what do you think, how you will fill that gap? That is your research. That is how you position your research, right? For example, you just saw that there are like thousands of research that is there on UCC, but how you want to make a difference, how you want to position your research, that is very important. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is a 7-step process. This is not, it's just for your help. I just added a slide. So first of all, you have to find the keywords, because then only you will be able to find the literature. It is very important that you know what keywords you have to search, you have to look for. Second is you have to find the literature and the researchers, right? When you'll find the keywords, then only you'll find the literature, as we just saw the process of searching on Google Scholar. So it is very important that you know the keywords, then only you'll get the literature. Then you have to qualify the literature for reading. So for example, there were like 92,000 things that appeared on UCC. You cannot read all the 92,000, right? So you have to segregate it down, you have to cut it down of what exactly is important for you, what exactly is important for your topic, what resonates with your topic, that is important. Fourth is put it on a timeline. It is very important to have a timeline, otherwise you'll just be reviewing the literature, right? Next is break it down into parts, right? For example, somebody was asking me yesterday about of I don't remember, but I just asked her to divide it into portions. I can give you one example of this. For example, there is a researcher who is working on nuclear security, right? So that researcher now is working lifetime on the nuclear security aspect. So what exactly he or she can do is, what exactly they do is, it's a real life example. They work on different countries, they work on different continents. For example, nuclear security in Africa, nuclear security in African countries also you can take. There are 52 African countries are there, right? So you can divide it into, break it down into portions if your research topic is very huge. Okay. Build a connection by making links. Okay, try to make links in your research topic and subtopics. Find gaps and link it to your work. Okay, this process that you can follow, and it would be it become easier for you to conduct research. Okay, any doubts in this? It is just a process. You can have your own 9-step, 10-step process that you want to follow. uh okay, so let's end it here. I don't know how to stop sharing. Yes. Okay, so let's come to the discussion part now. Yeah, anyone who wants to speak anything about their topic, about anything, you're free to. Is it all clear to you, whatever we discussed?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am?
Yes, Muskan, yes.
Ma'am, you talked about contextualizing and summarizing in the start, so we have to choose either of them. Like when we are researching, we have to choose one of the sides. Either we summarize it or we conceptualize it.
No, you can do both.
For example, the topic is NATO and the Ukraine and Russia crisis going on right now. I have to relate them. So there isn't a question that I have to ask, but I have to summarize whatever I'm researching on that.
Yeah, so basically, contextualizing and summarizing depends on your research topic, of what exactly you're trying to know. It depends on the research topic that you're working on the research approach that you're following. So, some people, for example, someone is trying to investigate something. I can tell you this example from Russia-Ukraine war itself. There was a submarine, Russian submarine, I think, which was sunk by the Ukrainian forces. So there were researchers also who were trying to investigate how it got sunk. That is investigation, right? What were the factors? Now, what your research is technically summarizing. Are
Yes,
you able
ma'am.
to understand? Yeah,
Yes,
that is
ma'am.
the difference between the two. So depending on the topic, depending on the question, research question, that would decide.
Okay, ma'am. Got it.
Okay, yeah. Uh, Anyone else wants to talk about anything?
Ma'am, when it comes to the impact of foreign direct investment on India's legal framework, so first
Okay.
means how to start with it. Like, We can go into depth, we can summarize, we can conceptualize, we can research about literature, even everything we do. But how do we start it?
So you have to start. So basically, were you there yesterday, Riti?
No, I was not there. That's the reason I am.
Okay, so basically, I'll share the presentation with you yesterday part. So what you have to first of all do is you have to filter down your research. You have to narrow down your research question. So what you have right now is an idea, right, of
Yeah,
FDI legal system. But now this is not a research question. There is a difference between an idea and a research question. You have
yeah.
to funnel it down. You have to filter down things, and you have to find out your focused research question of what in legal aspects you're trying to know in FDI. There can be many legal aspects, right? There can be political legal aspects, there can be financial, there can be many legal aspects also, right? There can be many types of legal aspects.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, so that is how, first of all, you have to read about, generally, you have to read, not literature review, just read, then find out of what exactly you are trying to search, what you're exactly you're trying to research.
Okay, so basically, in inside FDI also there might be many short topics. So I have
Many,
to
like
select. I'll have
thousands.
to narrow it down and select something very the
Specific.
one which is specific and the one which attracts, means which attracts me basically, and which
Yes.
is which I find it interesting.
Interesting, and which aligns with your competence, which aligns with your educational background, with aligns with the area of research. So it's not just interest, it's a lot more things.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
Yes. So you have to first narrow it down. You have to be specific with your research question.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Uh, Anyone else?
So, ma'am, uh,
Yes.
see, you get the lay of the land of a particular subject matter. Then after that, you come across a few research gaps. Then how do you identify which ones are worth pursuing?
Again, you have to read about, you have to undertake literature review for that. So gaps which are worth pursuing also depends on a lot more things: your competence, your resources that you have, the data that you have. Were you there in yesterday's class, Pushpender?
Regrettably, no, ma'am.
Were you there?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so basically I'll just quickly share something with you people. Okay, right. So, see, what exactly is worth researching, what exactly gaps are worth researching on, that also depends on a lot of other factors apart from. Okay. Okay, so criteria for selecting the research topic are these. Internal criteria is interest, competence, and resources. Okay, which depends on the researcher. There are also external criterias: the researchability of the problem, the novelty of the problem, how new it is, whether people have worked on it earlier, whether it is important or urgent, the facilities that you have, whether it is feasible to conduct the research. Are you able to understand now, both of you? I think it answers both the questions.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, ma'am.
Then magnitude, whether you have money to conduct that research, whether you have time, whether it is ethical to conduct that research. Does it make sense now?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
exactly you undertake research also depends on these criterias.
Okay,
Okay.
ma'am. Yeah.
So it is very important that you have all these, into your head, into at your disposal. Then only you will be able to undertake the research. Wait. Can you share slides in groups? Okay, Pragati. I'll share the presentations with you, and then you can send it.
Yes, ma'am. I'll just share it in the group.
Okay. Uh, yes. More questions?
Ma'am, I had a query that's kind of diverted. It's not. I just wanted to ask that how can we approach to a case study? Like if we are researching on a case study, so how can we approach to that?
Case study, as in you want to conduct a case study or you want to read it?
No, it's like if I'm researching on a case study.
Um, I mean, can you be more specific? What case study? I mean, how
Ma'am, for
exactly?
example, there's a case study, there's a case law, Kesavananda Bharti versus Union of India, for example.
Okay.
So if I'm researching on that, how can I approach? Like what could be the best way to approach that case law?
People do case study. It is a method. Case study methodology, a lot of people follow, just like ethnic research, ethnic methodology, historical method. So there are a lot of methods that are there. Case study is one of the method. So first of all, when you're approaching a case study, you have to first of all ask yourself or read what exactly in that case you want to. I mean, what in Keshav Nanda Bharti case you want to research on? I mean, what aspect of it you want to study?
Okay, ma'am. Got it.
Is it effect? Is it how exactly the case underwent? Is it the proceedings that you want to analyze and summarize? What exactly, what aspect of it you want to research on becomes important here. How exactly it has affected our constitution? So there are so many questions that are there right now in Keshav Nanda Bharti case. So you have to analyze first of all what aspects of it you want to research on.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. uh, yes, anything else, guys?
Any more doubts? No, ma'am, I don't think so.
Okay, so we'll just close the session for today, right?
So,
Yes, Pushpender has raised the hand. Yes.
So, ma'am, just say there's a lot of literature on a certain policy decision or a legislation in the international arena, and you are doing your research to push for the same policy change or policies change in the same direction in your country. So obviously you won't find that much of literature in your own country, as I'm not able to find. So how should I approach or go through this process? Because in Indian context, I'm not finding a lot of literature. Very few people have talked about it. Very few articles have been written on it. So how should I approach this?
Okay. Um, so you want India to come up with that policy?
Ma'am, not the exact same policy, but certain decisions should be taken in that direction.
Certain decision, yes. Okay, I can tell you something about it. So I since I'm from chemistry background, I have read chemistry for my bachelor's and master's. I'm just giving you a real life example here. So I wanted to work on, I was really fascinated about the rare earth minerals, about the critical minerals that they are used in, renewables, they are used in defense equipment, they are using a lot of things, and nobody was talking about them in India, right? And there was a critical mineral strategy for Australia that they came out with. They already identified all the minerals that were important, that their government classified as important, but there was nothing as of that in India, right? So I was very curious about it, why India is not doing anything about it. So what you can do is you can do comparative study. That is a gap that India is so basically you have already identified a gap here, that India is not talking about it, does not have a policy, does not have a legal take on this particular issue, but this is important. So what you can do is whenever you are writing something in your paper, this is a gap, this is a policy gap. right? So whenever you're writing something, you can just mention it that this country has all these legal, this is the legal take of these countries on this particular issue, but India does not have any legal stance on this. So India should take this. Also, you can suggest some policy, or you can also make some policy suggestions as you're concluding that paper.
Interestingly enough, even in my case, Australia is one of the countries which has like implemented that policy decision. So Australia is a point of reference for me also.
Oh, that's great. So, you would be shocked to know that, India came out with its critical mineral report, and India now also has identified 30 minerals as their critical minerals, as its critical minerals, which are very important for them. So, it's not like that your research, is not important. It just goes into vain and nobody reads it. People read it. So I was working with a National Maritime Foundation before I was here for the PhD. I joined PhD here in Jindal University. So I, along with my colleagues, we published a report of marine resources, which is also there on, you can download it and if you want to read it. So now India also came out with a policy. In the Ministry of Mines, it would be coming up with the policy, and they have already identified the minerals. So it's very nice that you've already identified a gap, and you can work on the similar direction. And what do we call it? We call it comparative methodology. When you are taking one country as an example, or one region as an example, and you are suggesting policy changes for other region, other country.
So, ma'am, a supplementary question.
Yeah.
If there are two to three such countries which have taken certain steps, so I should go into detail and talk about their policies along with their flaws and how they can be better situated for Indian like climate or political sphere or everything. So
Exactly.
I should get into the nitty gritties of it.
Yes, you should. So basically, what you are trying to do is you are trying to make policy recommendations for
Yeah,
Indian government.
yeah.
You're trying to do that, and you are free to do that. A lot of researchers do that. A lot of so if you see newspaper editorial articles, they generally do these things. They say that okay, this country is doing this. China has these many ships. US has these many ships. India is not buying ships. India is not buying this so you can do that. It's very I mean, it's not something very you cannot do. And sorry, so you can
So
do that. Also, you have to, so that is how constitution was made. A lot of people, a lot of legal people who were involved in the drafting the constitutions, what they did was they read a lot of constitutions, laws of other countries. Then they then they pointed out that this is the problem. This is not suited for Indian context. This is how we should change it.
so ma'am, I'll go along with this, but I may need your help at certain junctures.
Sure, I'm not a legal person, sorry, but
No,
if
ma'am.
you want, sure,
See, I need your help with the approach. Like, how should I go ahead from a certain point in my research?
sure, sure, definitely. I'll be happy to help.
Thanks a lot.
Ma'am, even I'll need your help.
Yes, you can ask me. It's not a problem. But see, I can only advise you from a very generalistic point of view because I'm not a legal person. So it's something very new for me. But I can only tell you the research stances that you can take, what exactly you can do. Policy research is something that you should do. Even I believe that, when you're doing something, it should be relevant at least for some people. Then only it
Yeah,
makes
ma'am.
sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Krishna, you have raised hand.
Ma'am, you were talking about how for literature review we can go through different websites for the ways we can, research
Yeah.
inside. Have used Google Scholar a few times, but many of the articles, books, whatever you get from Google Scholar, ma'am, they're all behind a paywall. So how do you go about, getting those. They're very nice, but all of them are behind a paywall.
That is a problem. There are many. I do not want to comment on a public forum what tools you can use for, but maybe you can ask your colleagues and all. There are different methods that you can follow. There are different websites which give you those things for free. You can get them on some websites. Certain websites are there. Also, you can ask your libraries, because what we have in our university is, when we ask them, so they there is an institutional access also that these
Yeah,
websites
yeah,
give you.
ma'am.
Yeah, so that also you can follow. Institutional access, you can talk to your librarian. Probably your institution would be having access to at least some of these websites, some of this books and all.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it is a problem that I also face, because obviously nobody wants to spend money, because as researchers we don't get much of the finances. We're not having much of the finances at our disposal. So I can totally understand. But yeah, there are different methods that you can follow. There are different techniques. There are different people that you can approach, and you can get. Okay.
Okay, ma'am, can we now conclude with the session?
Yeah. We can conclude with the session. Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, I would
Okay.
like to thank our guest speaker for today, Ma'am Nikita Vats, who took time out of her busy schedule to share her valuable insights and knowledge with us. Your expertise and wisdom have undoubtedly enriched our understanding. Also, I would like to thank all the attendees for their active participation in this session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for today's session.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you,
It was
ma'am.
really interesting for me also to talk to you people, to know what you guys are up to, what you guys are doing, what topics are you working on. It is really interesting. Trust me. I mean, whenever I talk to a researcher, it's even something I also learn. So, thanks to you guys. Okay. Bye. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
ma'am.
Thank you.